friends, and set out a set of speakers here and enjoy us for the Radio Ranchcast. Once again, it's your host, Scott Chase. What is this all about? Well, podcasting seemed to be the thing, and we got a lot to say. We can't always squeeze it into the small amount of time that we have on the radio. So we thought, you know what? We need some kind of long form ability to talk about things around the radio station that have happened over the past, well, with me, about 35, 36 years. But what's happening right now, what we consider will be happening in the future for radio, and what happens at what we call the Radio Ranch, 821 Pineville Road. With that, I will please welcome Kelly McCoy, who has been with me since I've been here since the very beginning. Hello, Kelly. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Had a chance to play in Atlanta's Love, the golf tournament at Whinstone. Just blew on back here just a moment ago and got that done. But it's a great call, and the Websters were there, and it's just wonderful to be able to hang out with those folks. So did that. Dodger is here. He is bringing us into the digital age in 2020, and we appreciate every moment that it's we're kicking and screaming. I know, tugging and pulling.
I take no credit for this. I'm taking none. In case it sinks at the end of the day, I'm taking no credit.
So we thought, it's things that happen, certainly with KZ106, because I spent most of my career, all of my career on the air. I think I did one talk show one time on 102.3, and I think I've been on 107.9 early one morning when somebody didn't show up, and I happened to be there just for a couple of minutes. And I can't remember exactly what the format. I think it was oldies at that point. But nonetheless, most of my career has been at 106.5, although along with the work that we do here, we've got some other radio stations in the building that include 107.9 and also include WGOW AM at 1150 and 102.3. We call it the Talk Monster, Talk 102.3. And with that, we will welcome the co-host for Sport Talk, a gentleman we go, Cowboy Joe Varner now. How long has he been here? Sitting here a while. So as I gave you the invitation to join us a couple of days ago, or maybe it was yesterday, you just celebrated your 20th anniversary at the Radio Ranch. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's so I started at the ranch January of 1999. So I guess this will be 21, right?
You're finally of age. Yeah.
Hey, I got it, man. I got it. My public school math is working. Awesome.
And one of the reasons we had you on this week, we had to move some of the moving parts. We have Ducks Unlimited that will most likely join us next week. We're releasing this a little bit late, but as Kelly and I were talking, and Dodger and I have talked as well, there's a lot of stuff. You've heard about the COVID, I suppose, right?
I've heard of that, yes.
The coronavirus, I don't think anybody can escape that. It's touched all of our lives in one way or another, and it certainly has affected sports. And, of course, that is what you and Scott McMahon Quake have the opportunity of chatting about for about 4 hours, 4 quarters every afternoon on Talk Radio 102.3. That's why we're including you here today. Joe, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. And it's, we always hear unprecedented times, and there's so many phrases thrown out there for 2020 and everything that relates to the coronavirus or COVID. So it has been a crazy year, a year that I know I'm not going to forget anytime soon or ever. And I'm sure it's the same for you guys.
And why you came up is you probably realize there's a big Steelers fan amongst us right now. You have heard, right?
I've been aware of that for quite some time. Yes. And
about 21 years, right?
about that. Yeah.
She can't keep it secret, man. She cannot keep it secret. The Steelers and Titans, they didn't have the opportunity to play it.
I mean, I actually had it on my calendar just so I wouldn't forget. I was so excited because I was finally going to get to see the Steelers play, and I knew that the game would be shown because they were playing the Titans. And then, darn that disease.
And it was crazy too, because the Titans obviously started off undefeated. You got the Steelers also undefeated, and we know there's a certain amount of teams in the NFL that's kind of America's choice. Right? You can say the Cowboys, you can say the Steelers, but those core teams that their fan bases are just huge. Wherever they travel to, they're gonna have a ton of fans come to see them, no matter where they play. So the Steelers, obviously one of those teams. So it was going to be a big deal as far as that game, those teams being undefeated, and just to see not only for Pittsburgh but for the Titans, how good are they? Are they really a 3-0 type team, or can they continue on with this undefeated streak? So it's unfortunate that that game was postponed, but I believe they rescheduled that October 25th. Is that right? Somewhere around there?
I don't know. I hadn't heard that yet.
I think they did reschedule it, but everything's been so crazy. That could be a doctor's appointment for me. I don't know.
So how many players tested positive? Was it 20?
It was somewhere around there. It started off just a very small number, and then every day, there's more that tested positive. Right now, they've had 2 days in a row without a player testing positive, so that's good news for the Titans.
Yeah, we had Steve Gorman on, who does the night show on KZ. Of course, he's a big sports guy as well, and we had him on a few weeks back, and we were talking about the impending start, because it hadn't gotten underway yet, of the NFL season, and what he thought, going forward. And he's basically, his take on it was like, any game that I get to watch, I'm going to watch, because I don't know if there's going to be another one.
This is true, yeah.
Yeah, is that kind of like the whole mindset? I mean,
I think so, but as this season goes forward, obviously you had the NFL start up first, and then college football has kind of came behind that. And you've had some games that needed to be moved or canceled, and you've seen on the high school level as well. It is something that, I think you're going to have team-to-team issues with COVID, but I've just me personally, I don't expect a full shutdown of college football or a full shutdown of the NFL or high school football, whether it's TSSAA or GHSA in Georgia. I don't see that happening, but never say never. In 2020, never say never, because you just don't know. But yeah, so I think that's everyone's tuned in right now, because some people do feel that way, that, hey, we're not sure if this is going to be around next week or the following week. So let's take all this in that we can and enjoy it.
yeah, absolutely. So now who I pick for. I know who Quake likes, because he's a fellow Steelers fan. Who's your team?
Oh, I'm a Raiders fan.
Oh, all right. See you.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Hey, we'll see you.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Nobody's gonna jump on this Falcons bandwagon. Come on now.
Bandwagon. I think you got a broke wheel there or something. But yeah, I've always been a Raiders fan since I was a little kid. And it's funny because grew up in Tennessee. I was born in Ray County, just not too far from where the station is. And my first favorite teams were the Lakers, the Raiders, and the Oakland Athletics, all West Coast, all pro teams. So I was never one of those guys that as soon as came out of the womb, I was a Tennessee Vols fan, or I was a Georgia fan or a Florida fan. It was just always pro teams. And then I slowly started to enjoy the college sports, and here we are.
Yeah.
How did you end up? Go ahead. Go ahead now. Go ahead.
How similar is Ray County to the West Coast?
Well, I mean, the surfing's not as good, but other than that, it's pretty much the same.
How'd you end up on Sport Talk? Tell that story. Many people probably don't know. I mean,
yeah, it was interesting because at the time I got a call from a friend of mine who was working at the radio station. There was a part-time job available, and I had just quit a job I just hated, and I was in between. I didn't have any jobs. So I was used to working 2 jobs, so I didn't have any income coming in. I get a call. I was like, "Yeah, man, I need some work." So I come in. It was to run some weekend shows, infomercials, that type of deal, just a weekend position, really. And for about a year, I did that and started running the board for Sport Talk. And from that point forward, it just kind of slowly evolved. 2 years in, okay, I said something on the air. Woo, I'm a star now. And 3 years in, 4 years in, I just kind of evolved into this character known as Cowboy or Cowboy Joe. And it's next thing you know, I'm a co-host. So it just really was the whole thing evolved. It was been an amazing run. Feels like yesterday when I started here, but 20 plus years, and I'm as blessed as I can ever be.
Talk for a minute about Dr. B, because he was obviously such a big part of Sport Talk. Something really cool that you guys just did, and if you want to talk about getting him in the Dodgers game, that was a pretty cool tribute to Doc. But there's not a one of us on staff there that doesn't miss him daily.
Well, you talk about a character, and we've had him in this building for many, many years. You guys know. Well, first let me talk about the Dodger. He's got a cardboard cutout in Dodger Stadium. And I believe he still has it for this series. But we were contacted by one of his friends saying, "Hey, this is an idea. Can we make this happen?" And if you've been watching sports during COVID, there's no fans allowed in some stadiums of some arenas. So you see these cardboard cutouts of people, and it's like, well, that's a cool idea. How do we do that? Well, we started investigating and found out, hey, we can do that. We can put Dr. B at Dodger Stadium, and he was a huge Dodgers fan. Always talked about them, and since a kid, he was a Dodgers fan. And I don't think he'd ever get on a plane to go see him. So he never went to a Dodger game out there. So with the help of a lot of people, Dodger being one of those people, we were able to get that done and get him placed where we know he would love to be, right behind home plate, or at least close to it. And just to honor him and his lovely wife Rita, I know she loved it. It was fun to do, and just so happy we could make that happen for him.
Absolutely.
As far as just Dr. B in general, he was here when I first started here in '99, and always the one thing I'm very appreciative of, and I love about Dr. B and Quake as well. They said, "Hey, if you got something to say, go ahead and say it." And I was shy back then. I didn't want to say anything. If they asked me something, I would talk, but I would never just turn on the mic and run my mouth. They would always include me in the conversations, and that helped me grow as a host and learning how to be a radio guy or a radio co-host. Just little things like that they taught me, and they taught me without really teaching me, if that makes sense. So we miss him every day. He was just one of those guys that everyone loved. He could get an event going, get it hype, and and one of the best things about him, one thing I never understood how he could do it. He could get somebody so riled up, ready to fight, and then he would say, "Oh man, I love you. I'm just kidding." And next thing you know, they're hugging. He's the best at doing that. I don't get it. I can't do that, even though I try. But he would get them so mad, and then next thing you know, they're going out to dinner together. It was just crazy.
Yeah, the tater diggers most likely.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
That's so funny. Yeah, he was certainly a one of a kind person. Do you have a favorite story of his? Because he did many stunts and many different things. Is there one that stands out?
Oh, well, there's so many, and a lot of those really crazy ones happened before I was on the show. But it's not really a prank or anything, but he was notorious for obviously running his yapper. And he would just say, "Boys, I'm telling you," and I'm sure it was Tennessee's gonna win this game, or Alabama's gonna lose this game, or whatever it may be. He would just all week, "Boys, I'm telling you, this is going to happen. So and so's done. They're finished. They're never going to win another game." So he continued on that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the whole week. So the weekend comes, and the Vols get absolutely trashed. They're run out of the stadium. He comes back, and we ask him, "Well, what happened to your Vols? What happened to whatever team it was?" It was up. They lost. And that was it. He spent the whole week building it up, and it's like when we get to Monday to actually talk about it, he's like, "It never happened. It never happened." I never spend the whole week talking trash about the other team. So it's just the way he was, man. He was a legend for sure.
Absolutely.
I want to go back to a little bit about when you guys started. I think that's one of those things that for all of us, I think we've got those entry points where you spend a lot of time just doing the jobs that people don't think we do now. Obviously, some of us still do those jobs a little bit, but nonetheless, they look at us and say, "Okay, you're on the radio now. You're doing all this. You're big, successful," but they don't realize all the work that went in early on. And I think much like my story is much the same as yours. I'm sure Scott's and Kelly's are very similar as well. I know Scott's included overnights. Kelly, I think, just became like midday princess. Right?
No.
But, talk about some of that effort that went in and some of the long hours and what it takes to kind of really work up to, and the time that it takes to get to where you are at this point now with Sport Talk.
Yeah, it's not one of those things where you walk in and you're hired to turn on a mic and you've got a show. That's when I first started becoming a regular on air guy, I thought, yeah, I could do this. This is easy. It's just, where's my show at? Go ahead and give it to me. But one thing I didn't know, and one of Bill Lockhart, we all know him, a guy that's been in this building a long time as well. he told me, he said that, you don't have enough life experience. And it really didn't register at that point. But now that I'm a little bit older, I understand where he was coming from. And when you have that life experience, you have something to talk about. You have some experience to base your opinions on, and things like that. So when I first started, it was just one of those things. You walk in here and you see a board, you see mics, and the little things. You talk about the work it takes to do prep, as far as the clips that you want to play on our show, or the things that you need to do for a little segment that we have during the show. That might be a particular element. And just knowing your room, meaning, hey, I'm still learning some things. Oh, I just learned the other day what a button does in here. Like, I didn't know that. I've been here 20 plus years. It's been there. I didn't know about it.
You're not the one that set that off, are you? No.
Don't tell anybody, okay? So you're always learning, and the radio business it's been slow to evolve, but I think we're starting to finally understand that if we don't evolve, we're going to be left behind. And I start seeing that. And we know with radio, there's only so much you can do on radio, but there's so much that's involved there past that, as far as, whether you're talking social media and many other things involved with that. So, yeah, it's not something you come in and you're going to automatically get your own show. You got to pay your dues. And paying your dues usually means running some weekend shows, getting up at 5 a.m. on a Saturday, coming in, just sticking around doing. I don't think you do. There's some things that I was doing back then that we don't do now, and I'm very mad about that, because these young bucks, they need to experience some of that. But it's again, it's just there's little things that you have to do in order to, as I said, pay your dues and earn your way in this business, because it's not going to be given to you.
Hey, this is been an odd time, obviously, but football season's here. Is this your favorite time to be on the radio talking sports right this time of the year, or is there a favorite time of the year? I mean, how much badminton and stuff can you
Yeah, the cricket's not really our main thing. Yeah, it is. And right now, as much negative as COVID has brought to us, with everything being postponed in the summer, moved to the fall, which is now, there's so many sports going on right now, and it's kind of hard to keep up almost. But if we're just talking about a regular year where we got football going on, college, high school, NFL, you do have we'd just be ending the NBA finals, or they'd be over for a little bit. But because that's what people love. We're in the South. It's all about college football. It's about football in general, and that's where the passion is. I mean, if you follow Auburn or Alabama, you know about the Iron Bowl. You know what kind of passion those two teams have, especially with that rivalry. Or Tennessee and Georgia, Tennessee and Florida. There's name any SEC school, and they've got the rabid fans, and that's what drives our show. Football drives our show, so it's always fun. I try to take Dr. B's place as far as riling some of these people up to call in. I can't do it as good as he can, but I think I succeed a little bit, and it's all love in the end, and we have a lot of fun doing it.
And you're instrumental in making sure that our Friday night high school football show happens, Coca-Cola Red Zone, which, by the way, has been going on for what, 20 years?
27 years.
27 years. So it started before you got here, but you are one of the major cogs in the wheel there that make that roll each and every day. How many people are out there putting that show together to make that happen?
See, 1, 2, usually 4 or 5. Right now, it's basically 4, because we got one of our guys bunkered up voluntarily. So we have a couple guys that are game of the week, Jeff, Kate, Justin Sims. And we've got myself and Kurt, and you also have Pat Benson. Every now and then he'll give us a call and do some updates as well. So about 4 to 5 people, depending on the week, and just bringing you the high school football scores in the Chattanooga area in North Georgia, doing what we can to. And let's be honest, high school football is the last amateur sport, truly amateur sport. And it's when you see, coming from Ray County where football was it, and whether you come from South Pittsburgh or where, it's that everyone turns out the lights and goes to the football game. That's what we love. I love seeing those games, seeing those fans come out and support their team.
Awesome.
Wow.
Well,
Okay, so
Well, great to have you on. Yeah. Have we missed anything? Go. Yeah, Dutch.
I was just going to follow up with talk itself, and talk radio itself as a whole is extremely caller driven. Obviously, you guys have a lot of fun. You incorporate the calls. Sport Talk specifically, so over the years, has really kind of brought those listeners and callers into the show and made them a part of the show. So over the years, who are the ones that stand out to you throughout your time on Sport Talk? Because I know there's some characters that are out there that have spent some time calling in over the years, and that really people know. I mean, they've become local celebrities to a certain extent based on just their calls to Sport Talk.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as my era on Sport Talk, well, right now, active legends. We got Nature Boy and Wild Thing. Those two guys are great. In the past, we've had Vol Holler, who, and a lot of these people are no longer with us. Vol Holler is one of those guys. Tomahawk is another. Flipper. We had Twin. We had there's so many people. I can't think of his name right now, but actually Twin, and there's a cool story. Twin, we got the Twin. We have our Sport Talk Hall of Fame unofficial. So we got him. A jacket that has Sport Talk Hall of Fame on the back. And we had him come in and we presented him the jacket, made it all official and everything. And he was just a super fan, huge fan of the show. And we went about our day. Well, not long, I guess it was 2 or 3 years after that, he passed away. And he was a veteran. And his wife got in touch with us and told us that he was buried in that jacket.
Oh,
and when you hear stuff like that, you're like, wow. We kind of get jaded when we come in every day and we're just doing the show. We're thinking that it doesn't matter, or know, is anyone listening out there? We know they are, but sometimes you just get like that. And to hear those stories, specifically that story, it just puts everything into perspective. It's like, wow, we are really affecting some lives, and people do think that we're their family, or at least part of it.
You're a good dude. You're good people, man. You really are. Everybody loves you at the radio station. I mean, you're just good people. Sure. It's interesting. We've talked about it for a while. We've had a lot of people come through in and out. It's not so easy to get in the door, but once you're there, people like to stay, obviously. And
well, yeah, if you do the work and you're a good guy, you're easy to work with. I mean, you can stick around and you can be a huge benefit to this building.
Yep. 821 Pineville Road, man. It's the Radio Ranch. Has been since 1978. You've been a part for 21 years now. Cowboy Joe Varner, man, part of the Sport Talk team there with Scott McMahon Quake. You guys do a great afternoon show every day, 3 until 7, Talk Radio 102.3. Thanks for coming in. We're glad to have you, buddy. Really.
Thank you, Scott, Kelly, Dodger. I appreciate it.
I know.
Do what?
Biggest LeBron James fan I know.
Kobe. Thank y'all.
All right. Thank y'all, man. Thank you for being with us, too. We appreciate it. We'll do another one next week. Radio Ranch Cast here. All about 821 Pineville Road and our radio stations. What they were, what they are, what they shall be. Y'all have a great day.